Top of the morning to you on this final day of April. I'm SBJ senior writer Joe Lemire, bringing you the morning Buzzcast. As WNBA training camps are opening, the Kentucky Derby and the F1 Miami Grand Prix are approaching this weekend, but we'll start in golf, where my colleagues Josh Carpenter and Adam Stern delivered a fascinating update on the PGA Tour's search for its next commissioner. While there remain multiple candidates, including some who have not yet been publicly identified, the new addition to the list that is generating buzz is Steve Phelps, the longtime NASCAR executive recently elevated to commissioner of that league. A spokesperson for Phelps declined comment, but SBJ cited 5 senior golf industry sources with knowledge of the search who mentioned Phelps as being an active consideration. Phelps is widely respected and has done great work in NASCAR since taking over as its president in 2018. 2 sources also raised TaylorMade CEO David Abeles as another candidate. Abeles has known Tiger Woods a long time, signing the sport's most famous golfer to an equipment contract in 2017 and then helping launch his Sunday Red apparel line last year. PGA Tour Enterprises board member Arthur Blank is leading the search committee and working alongside former Valero executive chairman Joe Gorder, Fenway Sports Group CEO Sam Kennedy, player directors Tiger Woods and Adam Scott, and search firm Korn Ferry. There remains no timeline for a search, but certainly we will keep you updated as we learn more. We'll next move to hockey, as OC Sports and Entertainment is beginning a $1.1 billion renovation of the Honda Center, the 31-year-old home of the Ducks, owned by the city of Anaheim. That's a transformational upgrade for any sports venue, more commonly with a price tag seen with NFL stadiums rather than NHL arenas. But what's most notable is the payer of that tab, the Samueli family, and only the Samueli family. As my colleague Brett McCormick notes, this might just be the largest private investment into a publicly owned arena in history. But that's the commitment being made by the ownership group of the Ducks, which has a contract in place to call the Honda Center their home through 2064. The first phase of work has begun with an eye toward having that portion done before the arena hosts Olympic volleyball for the LA 28 Games. As the OC Sports and Entertainment CEO Bill Foltz told Brett, it's testimony to the Samueli family, how they feel about Anaheim and Orange County, how passionately they feel about our fans to make this kind of commitment. It's a gift. It also creates a tremendous sense of obligation. We want to get this right. In all, there's a whole range of renovations planned, from increasing point-of-sale opportunities for fan convenience, overhauling the premium seating, and enhancing the exterior. That last part includes draping a thin LED film over the facade to create a giant screen for watch parties and other uses. The exterior will receive this big facelift to match the aesthetics of what's going next door, the $4 billion mixed-use development called OC Vibe that is also largely being funded by the Samuelis. This is another major project in the sports business construction boom to keep your eye on. One other renovation to note, commissioners in Hamilton County, Ohio approved a memorandum of understanding that would greenlight $184 million in one phase of planned improvements to Paycor Stadium, the home of the Cincinnati Bengals. The team would pay about 2/3 of that total, $120 million, with half likely fronted as a loan from the NFL, while the county would pick up the remaining third, about $64 million. In all, the upgrade is projected to cost $830 million over 4 phases. Staying in the NFL, retired Giants great Eli Manning is said to be assembling co-investors in order to acquire a stake of his former team, according to a report from Bloomberg News. Back in January, Manning indicated his interest in buying into ownership if the opportunity arose with the Giants, and a month later, the Mara and Tisch families retained the investment bank Moelis to guide them on exploring a possible sale of a minority stake. Sources told Bloomberg that up to 10% could be sold, likely distributed among several investors. New York and Moelis also feature in our next item, as the Wall Street Journal reported that SNY, the regional sports network carrying New York Mets games through at least 2035, is exploring a possible outright sale. Moelis is advising on this one as well. Though Steve Cohen, as you well know, bought the Mets 5 years ago, SNY remains controlled by the former owners of the Mets, the Wilpon and Katz families, through their investment firm Sterling Equities. Cable providers Charter and Comcast also have stakes. Cohen is expected to have interest in buying SNY, and with his financial clout, he would be a hard one to outbid. But the Mets are a blue-chip franchise these days, and New York can likely sustain an RSN better than other markets, especially with the loyal Mets fan base and the always entertaining broadcast trio of Gary, Keith, and Ron. In other sports media news, ESPN drew some big numbers over the past week. Its early NBA playoff coverage is its all-time best at this point of the postseason, averaging nearly 4.5 million viewers through its first 11 broadcasts on ESPN and ABC. That's a 13% gain on last season. Sunday's down-to-the-wire finish between the Lakers and Timberwolves in Game 4 averaged more than 7.3 million viewers and peaked at 10.25 million. Those are some big numbers for a first-round game. The NFL Draft also had some stout viewership, finishing its 7 rounds as the second most watched draft in history, with an average audience of 7.5 million across all its distribution platforms. It could be seen primarily on Disney-owned channels, ABC, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN Deportes, but also on NFL Network. Shedeur Sanders falling to the 5th round clearly was a factor in sustaining viewer attention into that third day. One idea that would help NBC with next year's NBA All-Star Game is a change in format, and NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said at a recent Associated Press sports editors meeting that given how the game will be in the middle of NBC's Winter Olympics coverage, the network has interest in continuing the international sports theme. Silver said the NBA and NBPA are discussing concepts of how that might look potentially in a U.S. versus the world format. Another basketball note, Chris Smith reports that WME Sports will divest its basketball agency, WME Basketball, due to a potential conflict of interest. Michael Dell's family office, DFO Management, has taken a stake in WME Group parent company Endeavor Group Holdings as part of the transaction led by Silver Lake to take the company private again. The conflict is that Dell owns a 10% stake in the San Antonio Spurs and thus can't be involved in player representation. WME Basketball will keep the name, but be operated independently, with Luka Doncic and Anthony Edwards among its biggest stars. And just when we thought we reached peak protein, and I've read multiple trend stories of late asking just how much protein we all should be really consuming, we're on the verge of our first protein soda with sports nutrition brand Don't Quit. Controlling ownership in Don't Quit belongs to Keurig Dr. Pepper, though it raised a $10 million funding round 2 years ago led by MSG Sports because its early products were popular among the Knicks and Rangers, and Don't Quit is now closing another $15 million round, our Chris Smith also reports. The sugar-free protein sodas will be available in many national grocery chains and other retailers, 7-Eleven, Albertsons, Safeway, Walmart, all the usual suspects. Its protein shakes are already in use by a handful of MLB teams after receiving the NSF Certified for Sport designation recently. There's also a deal with the MLB Umpires Association. That's a wrap for today. Josh Carpenter will bring you tomorrow morning's Buzzcast, followed by Ted Keith to close out the week. I'll be back a couple times next week. Until then, this is Joe Lemire signing off. Have a great day, everyone.